What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the best corner of the worst community in all of the internet, that being the MMA community. I am Sugar, or I'm actually Splinda O'Malley, and I am joined today by Hendrix. Say hello, Hendrix.
What's good, everyone?
It's my editor and the future of MMA TikTok, and the present of MMA TikTok, that being Zoomerman. What's up?
How we going? Not too bad. Thank you for having me on here, I guess.
Check out Hendrix and Zoomerman's TikTok, and look out for their YouTubes that'll be made eventually, obviously. How are we feeling? How are we feeling? 292 was yesterday.
That was a card for sure. That was fun. There was a lot of good fights on that.
Mm-hmm. For sure, I would say that the prelims were like more exciting, at least until the main event. It was a big thing. So like, what did you guys think about Petrosky and Gerard Mearshart?
It was a hell of a fight, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I am just repeating myself, but it's cool to see him come back and do it again, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, the like Petrosky is good. He's one of those like on paper fighters that's like, good at everything. So ideally he should destroy everybody. And then it doesn't necessarily always pan out that way. But like he's like undefeated, but it seemed to me like he saw Gerard Mearshart get knocked out and he was like, I can do that. And so he just wanted it to happen in the first round, even if it wasn't like the best game plan.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And Gerald's like he can swing too, and his grappling
Mm-hmm.
is really what happens, but like he gets underrated because he has some decent power in his hands.
For sure. Um Now, okay, I'm the only one here that watched Tough, but we all watch those fights. So, what are your guys' present impressions of Brad Katona and Cody Gibson?
Um, first I gotta say, God damn, those guys have chins. What the actual hell?
Yeah.
That was a scrap if I've ever seen one. I mean, that's what you have to see in a tough fight. I know both guys, their careers are kind of in the balance of this fight, so they put everything on the line. And I know it's corny to say it because, the competition is supposed to be one guy wins, but I wouldn't mind if the other dude also got a chance inside the UFC because he showed so much heart in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tough kind of hit the nail on the head there. That's like a whole. That was one hell of a fight. They ate everything they had, and yeah, I was
Mm-hmm.
shocked. It like went all 3 rounds.
Oh, for real.
Yeah. And like Cody Gibson in Tough, he did have like absolute cannons for hands. So, if you would have told me that he's for sure going to like hit Brad Katona 160 times, I was like, oh no, man, that's not going to go good. But I mean, it did. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
kind of like in the first round, it looked like the reach was going to play a big factor the rest of the fight. But the longer it went on, Brad Katona really just showed the dog in him. He got in closer, started piecing him up a lot, and it was really interesting to see.
For
yeah. There were
sure.
definitely some pretty like entrances into the pocket, and some of them were less pretty, but it was still interesting to see. He got in there, and he was swinging.
Mhm. I was cheering hard for Bragatona. He's like a weird guy, but like I like how weird he is. Like he seems like he's hyper fixated on fighting. That's why he's so shredded. Is because like everything in his life is just revolves around fighting. It's like if you were to try to give him a muffin, he wouldn't even be kind of tempted. He'd be like, no, no, get that out of here. That doesn't have to do with fighting. Like give me some lean chicken and stuff like that. And like I was rooting for him going into this. And going into like in the tough house, Cody Gibson was like, I don't like you. Nobody likes you. You're weird, blah, blah. And like, you're a diva and all this kind of stuff. And essentially, like he said, I know what you're gonna do, Brad. You're gonna try and wrestle me because you can't really fight. You just want to avoid the fight. So it was so sick to see them just swing and bang.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I just found it hilarious because obviously Shanna was there, but Brad Katona, if I'm not mistaken, he's the guy that trains with Conor McGregor in his gym. So it was kind of funny to me. Conor didn't even show up for any of that. He's like, nah, you know what? None of my guys won. I'm not about to support this dude. Not on my
Yeah.
life.
He literally didn't show up for Ian Gary and Brad Katona at the same time. That's kind of wild.
Then again, if I inspired Ian Gary, I wouldn't want to show up either. So I don't blame him there.
We can just skip ahead to Ian Gary. We can come back to it. What is going on with me?
Jesus, bro.
I
What
don't
is
know,
Blood
man.
Wolfling
Like
about?
it's okay to be original sometimes, you know. Like you can do your own thing. You don't gotta follow every single thing. And like I like Ian a lot, but the more I listen to him talk, the less I like him. Like it's he comes across as such a forced, crazy. Like it seems like such a character, but I don't know. That's just me personally.
And my thing with Ian, it's like, if I'm not mistaken, when he began in the UFC, his gimmick was kind of just being like the nice Irish guy. And then all of a sudden, as he starts getting more popular and the Conor comparisons start going more and more, he starts to try and build into that even more. And it just comes off really disingenuous and it's kind of corny. And it's like, man, you don't need to do that because, like, I like him from a fighting standpoint also because, like, from what it seems, he's very willing to evolve his game and he's really willing to grow as a fighter, and I respect that. But it's like, bro, are you really about to be at the press conference talking over Neil Magny, screaming at him, and then flipping him off in between rounds? That's corny as hell, bro.
Yeah. And it was weird because like he still wants to be like almost like a nice Connor because he wasn't like cocky and of himself. He was like, I'm defending children because you said that you made a joke about beating me like you beat your son or something like that. You know what I mean? Because like what Neil Magny said was like, I'm a father and so I know how to like, like give a kid a life lesson by beating them or something like that. But it wasn't an actual admission of guilt. Like Gary's like, you know what? Based on that, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna talk like I'm gonna flip off this guy and scream at him to stand up. This dude that's 15 years older than me, as I destroy his legs.
Can we
Yeah,
talk
I
about
will say the shirt with Jeff Neal's face on it, that's hilarious. The rest of it, not so much. I was a fan of the shirt.
man, Jeff? This only made me think Jeff Neal would have probably done bad things to that man. I'm not gonna lie, because like obviously his performance was impressive. I'm not gonna take anything away, but I think it's hilarious just how much trash he was talking, and he couldn't even finish like an old hurt Neil Magny, like a Neil Magny who one leg kick sent him to the shadow realm. You couldn't put him away.
Yeah, that was crazy. This night, it was full of leg health events, like from UFC 4. Whenever they like hurt their leg and they start limping around, I'm like, I rarely see that, and it was like all up and down this card.
Chris Weidman had me stressing all night every time he got leg kicked.
Yeah, Ian looked
Brad
good,
Tavares,
but can we agree 3 10-8 rounds on one of the judges? Who gave that to him? Three, whatever. One
Um,
of the judges gave him 3 10-8 rounds. That's I don't know about that.
that's a little bit excessive, maybe. Like I guess they treat like you hurting their legs as the same as they would treat it if they punched you and you got wobbled type thing, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's such a weird system.
So do you want to see him versus Wonder Boy or what?
Oh, I don't know about that. That'd be fun, but I think he might end up shoving Wonder Boy into the cage a whole lot, and I don't know if I necessarily want to see that. Ian looks good on the feet, but Wonder Boy is Wonder Boy on the feet, and if you don't wrestle with him, you're gonna lose your teeth. So
Mhm.
I don't
I
know.
think
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the Neil fight too.
I think the most exciting thing that would come out of that fight is Wonder Boy would get to say, "Why you gotta be so mean again?" Because Ian Gary would try to
Ooh,
trash talk him for no reason.
that's true. Um, I would not be able to handle it if Wonder Boy lost to Ian Gary. I might switch to a different sport if that happens. Like that is rough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Ian's younger. Ian. He looks good, but I wouldn't want to see him fight. It might be fun if it wasn't Wonder Boy, but first off, the press conference up to that would be so like miserable to watch because like it's Stephen Thompson. He's going to be Wonder Boy. He's going to be nice, and I don't think that's going to mesh real well with Mr. Conor McGregor. Um, but yeah, that fight would be fun to see.
Yeah. I also think Jeff Neal breaking his face would be pretty nice to see also. But that's a aside.
I can't get over the fact that he said you'll do what you're told, dude. I can't get over that. Like that is bananas to me. It's like he isn't acting like Connor. He's also not acting like a new Connor. He's also not acting like himself. He's acting like a Connor fan in the comments on the internet. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Both
I was
muted.
muted. Yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, it did seem he was just kind of playing the highlights. And like I really don't mean to hate on the guy. And I feel like I'm kind of having a hate party here, but you know, he looked good.
Yeah, he for sure looked good. He looked really good. I mean, I knew he looked good against D-Rod, but this is like, just an absolute ridiculous masterclass.
Yeah, for real. 110%. And I said like how he couldn't finish him, but at the same time, with how tough Neil Magny is, that also makes you think how good Shavkat is because Shavkat was able to finish him relatively quick.
You know who else did? Zoom
LB.
knows.
Yes, sir. Got choked unconscious. That'd be I don't know. Oh, I don't know if he was out, but yeah, Neil Magny, don't clinch with Gilbert Burns. That's kind of what happens. You get tossed on your head.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that was. I don't know. Maybe I assume they'll do the Neil fight next because Neil's a significant step up from. Or I guess it's still Neil, but Jeff is a significant step up from Magny. And Ian still has that thing where he kind of ducks his head if you're winging at him, and Jeff will put your lights out.
Oh yeah,
So that could be fun to see.
Mhm.
could be. And I mean, if he beats Jeff Neal, then like there's no more really criticizing I can do. He's pretty legit. He's pretty well damn legit.
Yeah. But to go back down the car, we got Kurt Hallbaugh and Austin Hubbard. This is the second one. That's the lightweight. Dude, Kurt Hallbaugh, he in tough, he looked like essentially Justin Gaethje, but with jujitsu and hitting a little bit less hard. He reminds me a lot of Justin Gaethje with how hard he hits. He doesn't necessarily like knock you out in one punch. He just kind of rearranges your body, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked good in that fight too. I wasn't expecting a submission just because, again, how hard he hits, but you know, he got it done.
So we go on to RoboCop. Um, I personally didn't think it was that big of a deal, like the whole back of the head thing, because from where I'm standing, like he elbowed him on the side of the head, and then the back of the head, and then the side of the head, while the dude's moving around, while he's moving around. I mean, I don't really think that that's that big of a deal. What do y'all think?
Uh,
Eh,
ob- Obviously, you don't want to see a dude get elbowed in the back of the head, and there's a million reasons for that. Uh, but again, like you said, he's scrambling around, he's moving. He had both feet in on that double boot ride. That was the end of that fight, one way or another. Um, but still, you don't want to see a dude get elbowed in the back of the head.
I agree, and I'm not gonna lie. In the moment, I didn't care at all that that happened. I was just like screaming at the top of my lungs that RoboCop was a monster. But yeah, you don't like to see that, but I don't think it really. I think it would have happened either way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And like again, if he had those feet in, deep enough, and I don't know if they were really set like the boot ride, but I don't think Dennis was going to scramble out of that too well.
Yeah, and I also don't think that like you could argue that a majority of the damage was done. Like whenever we think about like Aljo versus Piotr Jan, that kind of illegal strike, it's like he's tired and stuff like that, and then boom, he can't stand up. Meanwhile, here it's like he's getting elbowed every which way, and one of the elbows was illegal. It's like, okay, maybe that was the one that kind of put him out, but the ref was about to stop the fight anyways. Like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of fights get stopped from just shots to the back of the head when there's like a bunch of chaos going on. It's clearly not intentional.
Yeah, yeah. Although you still should protect the dude's back of the head because that's how you end up with more serious brain injuries. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you're saying. If it's craziness and one slips through as an accident, that's whatever. But I
Okay.
don't.
Now we're on Chris Weidman, dude. God.
Oh,
Okay, we're on our way up. So now we got to talk about Chris Weidman and Brad Tavares. How are we
Brad
feeling,
Tavares,
boys?
Brad Tavares needs to be locked up in prison for leg kicking Chris Weidman as much as he did. It should be illegal. And Brad Tavares, you are a bad person. I'm sorry.
And Chris, please retire. I beg of you.
Bro, I got mad. He would like do really well in the pocket and he would piece him up, but as soon as he got anything going, he'd shoot a fucking takedown.
Yeah. I don't. Man, those leg breaks are the nastiest thing you can see in this sport. And I was stressing for my man the whole time. And like you were saying, kicking his legs is straight diabolical activity. Why are you doing that?
Yeah. The like I remember the first interview that Weidman did after the leg break. He was saying like, "Hey, they don't know if they're going to have to amputate my leg. That's how bad the break is. They don't know if they're going to have to take my leg away from me."
His leg, if you look at the picture of that, it is on both sides of OSP's leg, like a cut, like a C.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
How long
And
until two people kick each other's shins, they both break and they wrap around each other like
Oh my
snakes,
God. Bro, that
and they
actually
can't even
did
get away
happen.
from each other because it's like tangled up.
Honestly, if you think about it, that was close to happening in the Chris Weidman Anderson Silva rematch. It just should have happened a couple years down the line.
Yeah, honestly. Um,
that
ugh.
that would be disgusting. That's terrible. Those are so rough. Those pictures of like Anderson or Weidman or who else?
Connor.
Yeah, Connors is. I haven't seen a picture of that one wrapped around the leg, but ugh, it's
It's
those are
it still
gross.
just sucks to watch them try to step on the foot, and
Yeah.
then it just kind of, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. Pedro Munoz and Cheeto, let's go, baby. Let's go back to the
Let's
hype.
go.
Did you got to deal with the jab somehow, my man. You gotta slip it. You gotta parry it. You can't just back up or eat it.
Mhm.
Um, and he kind of just stuck him with that jab. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. And it wasn't broken.
The fact
Yeah.
is, Cheeto Vera, when he fights people with no head movement, that's a mythical fighter. And I guess Pedro Munich just has no head movement.
I thought for sure he was gonna get slept in the third because of his like just keep his head here the whole time like thing. But he made it out. I was impressed, but he got to deal with that jab somehow.
Yeah. And I'm kind of glad, I'm really glad Cheeto won the decision because you could have really done it either ways. It really depends how you score the fight because obviously Pedro had so much volume, but Cheeto, every time he was connecting, man, you could tell Pedro was not enjoying his life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
those are
it.
some
Yeah.
sit down shots.
Yeah. Like think that Cheeto clearly won by a huge landslide. And the only question is, do you give Pedro 1 and 2? Even though they're really close. And it was like And also, if we were doing one rules where you judge the fight as a totality, it's clearly Cheeto, like by a
Oh,
mile. Look at their faces, look at everything. Even look at the amount of significant strikes. At the end, Cheeto had a lot more because he did really well in round three. So, and I'm just not upset by that decision. Sort of like how like whenever we had Jan versus Magomed, I was like they both had the same amount of success. I don't care about all this rounds nonsense, really, because like they both had the same amount of success. It's a draw. Like that's fair to me. And so this is fair to me that Cheeto won, even if you could like make a case for Pedro winning 1 and 2.
yeah. And can you imagine if that was a 5-round fight? Man, Pedro might have actually died.
Yeah.
It just he just kept snapping his head back with that jab, and like I couldn't hear what his corner was saying. I was a little bit far away from it, but I assumed they were screaming at him. So
Mm.
it, yeah, you got to deal with the jab, slip it to the inside, parry it, something. Just
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, who was it a couple weeks ago who did almost the exact same thing? The light heavyweight, what's his name? Turtle, the Iron Turtle. He just kept
Yeah.
jabbing, and that guy was just not going to deal with it either. So he got a finish off it though, so that's
Yeah.
nice as well.
And Font Giannis. It happens a lot. It's like I feel like before before you fight like ranked people, you have to be able to check a leg kick. You have to be able to deal with jabs. Like you have to have something that you can do. And
Yeah,
don't get me
yeah,
wrong, I can't do anything against anything. Okay, I'm not acting like I would do better. I'm just saying that like you go in there and you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I need to learn X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, well then that's all they're gonna do.
yeah. Well, Rob Font, you kind of get a pass because his is such a like a weapon that like he's got problems going on airplanes and stuff. Like TSA is not letting him through because that jab is so perfect. But for the rest of it, yeah, you just got to deal with it. Otherwise, you'll get eaten alive.
Mm-hmm. Batista versus Blackshear.
Blackshear
Pretty
got
good
robbed,
fight.
man. What the hell?
He absolutely got robbed.
Man,
I don't disagree with that, but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was closer than most people thought, but I would not be mad giving either dude the fight.
I'm a little mad.
I'm mad. Bro,
And
Damon was
and
so close to being the first guy to have 2 wins in 7 days in the modern
That
UFC. So close.
mm-hmm.
yeah, that would have been a very impressive statistic because like Hamza did it in 10, and then before that, I can't even think who comes close.
Yeah. Apparently some girl fought week after week, but then she lost the second one. So yeah. It's I don't know. But he still like looked real good. And at some point Joe Rogan or somebody was like, keep in mind Batista was not preparing to fight somebody with this style. And I was like, don't make
Comments is
excuses
not
for Batista, dude.
bro. What
Yeah,
that fight showed me is if Damon had a full training camp, he probably would have murked Mario.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
It'd
That's
have been a
just
lot more convincing, I think.
oh yeah.
they'll definitely run that one back though, I think. But that just that should be a fun. That was again a good fight. I would not be mad seeing that again. Um, I was pulling for Blackshear again. I wanted him to get the 7 days thing, but the judges they kind of did their thing last night.
Mm-hmm. They do that. Um, Jean Saint Pierre.
Speaking of the judges doing their thing, who gave uh Lamos a round?
That's
Somewhere
crazy.
in there.
I think they gave her the 4th round.
It wasn't Sal Diamato though. That's shocking. But no, she beat the piss out of her. That was
I think I gave Zhang like 3 10-8 rounds or something like that. I don't remember. It was
Mm-hmm.
wild.
there was a significant amount of time when Lemos was on her head and Zong was just punching down at her.
Yeah.
it was like That was a rough one.
That was crazy. It's like round one, Zhang Wei Li, 44 significant strikes to Amanda Lemos's one, and round five, Zhang Wei Li 55 to one. It's like Amanda Lemos just went through like three Hamzat fights in a row, basically, by the end of the night. Like that's rough, man.
And maybe I'm crazy, but like Lamos's corner, they kept telling her, "Oh, Shang Wei Li, she's gassing herself out. She's exhausted. She's not gonna be able to do this anymore." I'm like, "Are we watching the same fight, bro? She's doing the same thing every round."
Mhm.
Zhang is such a beast. Like, I don't know who they're gonna put up to deal with her. Yan maybe. Like,
Nanjanan, maybe.
uh, if Rose shows up, but if not, get poor bastard who has to fight her. That's
There's levels to this, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I'm scared of the person that's able to like knock out Joanna Jędrzejczyk and win a volume striking contest against Joanna. But then like at least Rose can wrestle her. And then Whaley goes out there and does like the best like job wrestling of the entire night against like a real contender. Like good God, man.
yeah. She also threw Carla Esparza around.
Bro. And
Mm,
I love that move she does where she kind of gets like the crucifix while she's laying on her back. That's fire.
yeah.
That is tough to watch her just elbow a girl in the face 40 times and they
Yeah.
just like, well, she has both my arms and she's as strong as a chimpanzee. There's not a whole lot I can do about it.
I still don't know how it's possible to do the crucifix rear naked choke that she did on Carla. Like, I guess maybe because she has a short torso or something. It makes
Yeah,
that possible.
I guess so. That's like something you could try to do on your little brother, like some WWE stuff, but she just did it to Carla Esparza. And I cheer for that because I hate Carla Esparza. But
I just have this mental image that she didn't even train that in the gym. She was just randomly thinking, what if I just try this real quick? Let's see this if this works.
yeah,
Yeah.
although
Oh, your head's right
can
there.
you imagine being an up and comer in the women's, like you're like a flyweight or a strawweight, and you're like, okay, so I gotta float between these weight classes. I gotta fight. If I want to be in the title, I'm gonna have to beat Carla Esparza, Jan, Rose. Maybe if she's on sheet game, she's tough, and then Jean. That's just tough, right? But if you're in the flyweight and you're trying to get a shot at the title, you either got to fight Talia Santos or Aaron Blanchfield or Valentina. Like that's just a rough.
That's crazy.
It's a rough road to hoe.
That division got so stacked so fast.
Oh yeah.
Like that's
Bro.
Yeah,
so crazy. Like I mean, and like as soon as it got stacked, Valentina lost. And so now it's just chaos. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? I mean, I know it's going to be Blanchfield, but not everybody knows.
And I think Zoomer knows it's gonna be Blanchfield, but for different reasons.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Blanchfield is a lock.
Hmm.
The only person who I see putting up a decent chance is, of course, Valentina, but she's getting older, and then Talia Santos. But I think Blanchfield will do her magic.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But real quick, speaking of commentary, if you guys were listening to the commentary in the Cheeto Pedro fight, I was losing my mind. They were like very much reacting every single time Pedro did anything, and they weren't really reacting that much when Cheeto was doing stuff in the first two rounds. They were just kind of like, "Ooh, Pedro's kind of working him. Ooh, Pedro's kind of working him." And then like after a certain point, they were like, "Man, Cheeto's just like he needs to readjust his game plan." Like it was
Bro.
crazy. I didn't it was weird. And then when the round three started coming around, Cheeto starts turning it up, beating him up. Then they're like, yeah, well, I think you could maybe give it to Cheeto. And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it goes to unanimous decision. I was like, yes, you guys are crazy. I don't know where the hell that came from.
And
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and to be honest, like I would love to see what Cheeto will do now against someone with better head movement, obviously. But I will say, from what I saw from his performance, I think Cheeto perfectly. He didn't try to change his game plan to the point where he's going to go out there and then rush everything and then he makes a stupid mistakes. But he also adjusted his game plan to fit with his slow starting nature. And it was really cool to watch because he's just counter striking him the entire time. And every time he connects, Pedro Muniz is just dying inside.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's clear it's miserable when that guy hits you.
Yeah.
We already kind of talked about this, but I just figured. Do y'all think Zhang is the number one pound for pound for women's, right?
She's got to be after that.
Now, yeah.
They have Grasso above her.
Mm,
I
that's
understand. I understand beating Valentina is like a big deal, but like that's still just one title fight.
Yes. Look, beating Valentina, who is the number two women's GOAT, like no question. That's a crazy impressive accomplishment. But if everybody was the same size and you locked Grasso and Zhang in a cage, who are you picking?
Zhang every time, baby.
Young for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
And
I,
also, I don't know if they count like the way you beat the people into it, but I gotta say the way Zhang Weili beat Carl and the way she beat Lemos, I mean, put that against Valentina, and I'm not gonna say it was a fluke. I think it was very good on her part, but many people would argue it was a fluke, and if they were to fight again, which they will, it wouldn't happen again.
Hmm. And it's like Zhang Wei Li, before Amanda Lemos, she had 6 fights in a row where she was just fighting either current or past champions.
Oh
Like
yeah,
6 fights in a row. She fought Carla and then Joanna twice, Rose twice, and Andrade. And the only ones she lost were the 2 against Rose. But like that's still like she has 4 title fight wins, 3 against current or past champions. Like in all of her wins are pretty dominant. The only one is like the first Joanna fight was like maybe a little bit like iffy. They both did insanely well, but then she got that back. She got that right back by knocking out Joanna. She knocked out Jessica Andrade, and then subbed Esparza, and then we just saw what she did to Lemos. Like, no, I don't think that would be the equivalent of if Grasso like maybe beat Valentina a couple times and then beat the past flyweight champions a couple times. You know what I mean? Like not just one title fight.
oh yeah.
The main event of the evening, fellas.
Oh yeah,
the Sugar Show.
the Sugar Show, 18-0.
Yeah,
18
that
and
was,
0.
that
I
was
mean,
crazy.
shoot,
Mm-hmm.
I still can't fully believe what just happened. I'm not even gonna lie to you. 'Cause I remember watching it live. I was looking down on my phone for like a split second. I look back up and I see Sean O'Malley is ground and pounding Aljo, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
That was bananas. So, we both had Aljo, you and me, Hendrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought Aljo was going to win.
Yeah,
My Zoomer, what about you?
I had Aljo winning.
Yeah. So we were all incorrect. I think that the problem, at least in my mind, what I got wrong was I was like, I know Sean is going to be solely worried about takedown defense. The problem is that Aljamain Sterling doesn't present any threat on the feet almost at all. In the same way that Raul Rosas Jr. like can't do something against Christian Rodriguez because all he has to do is look out for the takedowns. He does not have to worry about the hands at all. Sean pretty much does not have to worry about Aljamain's hands at all, so he can just sit there and look at the takedowns. But I'm like, over time, grappling against the cage and stuff like that is going to wear on Sean O'Malley. I was like, Aljamain Sterling round 3 TKO, because even if they do get into boxing situations, it's probably going to take like 4 or 5 interactions for Sean O'Malley to knock Aljo out. It was the first punch to the head Like the first time Aljo tried to punch him in the head, he got knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro,
I thought Aljo was going to win that pretty easily. I thought he was going to shove him into the cage, and that was going to kind of be the end of it. I did say if Sean's path to victory is not that the knee everybody was talking about, people were like, Aljo ducks his head, Aljo ducks his head. I'm like, okay, he did that in the Marlon Marias fight, and that was a long time ago. He's fixed that up. Obviously, he still does it a little, but I wasn't too worried about that. I said he was going to catch it because Aljo does those weird shoulder roll protection thing off his jab, and that was how Sean could catch him if he was longer. He did that. I'm not going to pretend I thought that's what was going to happen, but it did look impressive. And Aljo should have just grabbed him, like use the legs, grab him. Don't try to box with him at all. Like
Yeah.
and
Aljo's arms are not punching arms; they're strangle.
and it's crazy because if you watch the replay, I don't know if you caught it, but like Alcho knew what was gonna happen as soon as the punch started going even close to him. He just closed his eyes and accepted it.
Yeah, he was swinging at air, to be fair. Like, there was no reason to be punching at that. Sean was gone by the time that
Mhm.
punch was halfway extended and flung that whole thing out and kind of ate a left, you know?
Mhm.
And
Like, I mean, his game. He won round one pretty like confidently. I think so. Everybody I've talked to that's like not really biased. As you can tell, I'm not biased by looking at me, but like I think that Aljo won, and like the first round, and like it's if he would have done that, we would have got a Izzy Romero fight, but he would have won. Like I don't think that Sean is going to sprint at Aljo to like knock him out. You know what I mean? I just don't. That's not how I've seen really Sean finish anybody by like jumping at them. You know what I mean? And like running and like he kind of lures you in to where you think that you can't get hit and then hits you or he counters you. And Aljo was staying really far back in kicking range and then kicking his legs and backing up to the point where none of their limbs could possibly reach each other.
Yeah, I think that was also a thing with Aljo's confidence because before this, he's always gone into fights where people don't think he's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the majority consensus was Aljo is going to lose to Piotr. Aljo is going to lose to TJ. Aljo is going to lose to Cejudo. And I'll be honest, I thought he was going to lose Piotr the second time. He didn't. He got it through. But I thought he was going to manhandle Sean O'Malley. And I think that could have been part of his thing because, again, he does one thing really well, and which is backpack you. Maybe that the confidence to start swinging at Sean is kind of what got him, you know, a
also,
former champion.
and
Mm-hmm.
also, Sean, I think one of his best things is the mental side of Sean is like he wasn't really playing into many of the games that Aljo was doing at the press conference because I'm not gonna lie, I love Aljo, but like he was kind of overcompensating in that press conference. It was kind of interesting, and Sean was just there being like, "Where the fuck is Cody Garbrandt? Oh, Chico here? That's cool." And I think just how calm and confident he was really also really helps him. And I'm not gonna lie, even though I picked Aljo, I don't I kind of doubted Sean, but I never fully count him out because I do love Sean, and I thought he was gonna beat Jan, and so I always know he has like a puncher's chance, but I didn't really expect him to be able to deny the takedowns of Aljo, and I mean, from what it looked like, he was because Aljo shot twice, got denied twice, and then got clipped in the face. So
Zoom, you're the wrestler. Like, how much did Aljo commit to those takedowns?
Not not very much. But that's what Aljo does. Like, Aljo's not the guy to blast W. What Aljo is the most, maybe he's not the best scrambler in the UFC, but he's the most dangerous dude to scramble with. You could argue like Gamrot's a better all
no,
round scrambler, but he's
the
not
best
gonna
is being
choke you
able.
out. All right. But Aljo's got a 24% takedown accuracy, or he did before the fight. Like he's just gonna shoot, 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 and then some sloppy shit's gonna happen. You're gonna be rolling around, and then he's got his legs wrapped around you, and you're going to sleep. Like it's what Aljo does, but I can't say he bit down on those takedowns hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through the whole thing. What are the fights that you guys got wrong, and what do you think you didn't take into account?
On the main card, I hit all my picks except for Sean, and I kind of explained that.
Okay.
So what I got wrong on the main card, I think 3 fights wrong. It was Damon, and what I didn't take into consideration is that Damon Blackshear would get robbed. Neil Magny and Ian Gary, I didn't take into consideration that Neil Magny has the shins of a
Would get robbed.
70-year-old man.
Yeah, I think that was a robbery.
Yeah.
He got robbed too. And
Ridiculous.
Sean and Aljo, I mean, we already explained that.
It's amazing. Well, this is gonna be repetitive. I got the main one wrong. I got Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling wrong, and I got Batista and Blackshear wrong. Once again, I think Blackshear won. And yeah, I think that like when it comes to Sean and Aljo, like yeah, I think I was wrong because like I said, like you were talking about, I thought he had a puncher's chance, but that kind of means you're not, when people say you have a puncher's chance, it means you're not better than the other guy at all, and you have no right to win, but you might catch them with something. And that's not really true. I think that like watching this now, I thought he had a puncher's chance. Now it's like, no. He has a legitimate chance to like fairly beat Aljo. He just like, and I do think that like in some universes, Aljo could win that. It would be a lot more boring, but like, he has to be on point the entire time, and we never got to see Aljo take Sean O'Malley down, so we don't really know what would happen if he took him down, like if he would submit him or not.
And even as a self-proclaimed alcoholic, I gotta say, this was probably the best outcome that could have happened just because, Aljo's gonna move up anyway, and we probably would have been without a champion for a while because Marab and Corey are both injured right now, I'm pretty sure. And so we would have gone a while. And Sean, he's probably gonna be an entertaining champion. And let's be real, Cheeto Vera versus Sean O'Malley in December is about to go insane.
Yeah, that should be fun. I'm excited for Aljo at 45, though. That should be. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think he's got everybody in that division but Volk and maybe Ortega. But I don't know. The rest of that seems like a fun fight. There's a lot of fun fights.
You know
up
what?
there
I
to
agree
me.
with you. And that yesterday somebody was making fun of me for saying that, saying that he has a chance against Yair and Max.
I know who said that.
Yep.
Max. Max might be a different story. But that'd be a fun fight.
You don't think he has a chance against Max?
I definitely think he has a chance against Max, but I don't know if I think he beats everybody else in that division pretty handily who's not Max and Volk. And then maybe Ortega could catch him because
Topuria.
he's
What do you think about the sport?
Oh, I think he would. Topuria beat Josh Emmett pretty bad, but Jai Herbert, who else before that? Bryce Mitchell. Like, yes, he's good, but Aljamain Sterling's a big guy as well. He's strong. He kicks from range. His hands are whatever. And then I think even though Topuria has good jiu-jitsu, it's Aljo. I think he'd win, but they'll probably Topuria fans are rabid. They're not going to like that one.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I almost
okay. Yep.
Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I almost feel bad for Aljo just because it's like obviously he was getting booed heavily from the Boston crowd, and in the build-up he faced a lot of hate. And the one fight he's supposed to win, he went out there and got sparked in the second round, and he's moving up. And this kind of validates what everyone's been saying about him and how everyone makes an excuse for every win he's ever had. and it almost validates it in a weird way to these people. And I do feel bad for him in that regard, especially because he was so respectful after Sean beat him.
Yeah, he's been nothing but good with that. And like people don't like Aljo, so they discount him. But that dude is and was a monster, and getting clipped by Sean is not going to change that.
Yeah, I almost want Aljo to dominate Max Holloway just to piss in everybody's Cheerios.
Could you
Just to
imagine
just to
the
piss in everybody's Cheerios, dude.
piss fit people would have if Aljo beat the dog shit out of Max Holloway? Like,
Oh my god.
or Volk.
Oh,
I made a video saying like what happens if Aljo beats Volk. Like the universe fucking explodes is what happens. And
yeah.
like I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that he's beating Volk. I don't think anybody below 145 pounds is beating Volk. But can you imagine how angry people would be?
I would
That would
love it
be
so
that
much.
would be beautiful.
Dude, if
Bro.
they throw him up and he fights Ilya Taporia and beats him, that would be that would be pretty heavenly because Ilya Taporia fans are getting obnoxious.
What if it
Mhm.
turns out Aljo is better at featherweight because he doesn't have to cut as much weight?
He's just even stronger.
Yeah.
He sparks Yair, just
Oh
knocks
my
him flat out with a
He's
spinning
got
head kick.
he's got people tap into those body triangles.
no.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that I'm sure that didn't help him having to cut a whole huge amount of weight off because that boy is big.
Mhm.
And of course that's not an excuse, but like we'll see how he does at 45. But again, there are some big boys at 45 too. So
Yeah. I just he wants, like, he was talking about wanting the rematch against Sean, and I'm like, okay, I understand you wanting that, but I don't. Guy Vega doesn't want that, so don't do it. I just, because I'm not saying he would lose. It's just I already did this. You know what I mean? We already did this. We already had these conversations over and over again. Like, make us think, because now we're free. Because we were like, could Cheeto do something to Aljamain Sterling? Can Sean O'Malley do something to Aljamain Sterling? Like, was our old discussions. And now Aljo's moving up. Now we get to have the discussions of, can he beat Yair, Volkanovski, all that kind of stuff. And we can have Sean O'Malley. Does he beat Marab? And all these. And it's like, it's just new. It's novel. It's like, it's actually fun fights, as opposed to everybody fighting the same people just over and over and over again.
yeah, and I mean props to Aljamain for staying on top of the shark tank that is bantamweight for so long. Like he's got I don't know what the number of title defenses is, but he tied with Cruz, or he was very close to Cruz at a time when bantamweight was murderer's row.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's crazy. Like, even after what happened with Sean, to say that he's still the bantamweight GOAT. Because I was saying
Yeah.
he's the bantamweight GOAT after he beat Henry Cejudo.
He beat Dominic Cruz's title wins in the UFC when it was technically the
But it's the
UFC,
WEC.
but in the WEC Cruz has a lot more. But the WEC is just not really like you were talking about. It's like, it's just receptionists and stuff. So like, who would still destroy me. I'm just saying, like, it's not Henry Cejudo, And so, like, yeah, I do still think that Aljo is a bantamweight goat, but it's just because, like, somebody said, "Hey, Sean, why do you think he's a bantamweight goat?" And he said, "Who else?" And I'm like, that's a good point. Like, we haven't had a GSP or a John Jones in bantamweight
But
before, so the goat
Dominic
is really
Cruz.
just, I guess, but it's like we haven't
You
had
just you
somebody that
just a
blows.
Cruz hater.
I am a Crusader. I
I
am.
hate listening to Cruz talk, but oh my god, I like watching him fight.
Bro,
I like the
I
Cheeto
love
fight.
I love listening
I'm sure
Specifically
you
the
don't.
end. Yeah.
Dude, that made me sad.
I like listening to him talk, especially because he's always shitting on TJ Dillashaw, so that's pretty fire.
That's true. Yeah.
Dude, they should never. Whoever signed up him and Bisping to commentate should be fired. Like, burn that man at the stake. Never let those two commentate again. Oh my god. And nah,
But Dominic Cruz might insult his friends more than he insults his enemies. That might just be a thing.
It's
Yeah.
just like when, obviously everybody talks about like the Habib fight, the commentary where he was like Connor's trying to gas him out. And that was like what most people remember Cruz as. You know what I mean? Like that, or like that's like a key meme with Dominic Cruz. But the thing is, like, I remember him as the guy that lost to Henry Cedo very convincingly and then blamed it on the referee drinking. He was like, he smelled like alcohol, so he stopped the fight early. And then he goes on to like throw DC under the bus, like for no reason. But even knowing he's like a competitor to DC, like if DC gets shelved or fired or something, it's more likely Dominic Cruz gets more pay-per-view slots. So it looks like he's trying to tear down DC so that he can be the guy. Like that's what I mean, and he needs to know that that's how it comes across as.
I think
I'm not a fan of him as a commentator, but he's pretty to watch.
All right. Thank you for watching. For the rest of this episode, go to my Patreon. I'm joking. I don't have a Patreon. Actually, we had technical difficulties, but that's the end of this episode. So follow for the rest of the podcast. I'm going to try to make them more frequent. Thank you. Peace.